What does financially independent mean? And I understand the question because, it may sound rather simple, but there are some misconceptions that could get in your way. It gets in a lot of people's way. Once you have those out of the way, however, attaining financial independence, if you want it, it's much simpler than most people think. All right? I'm going to walk you through all of it. Let's go. Alrighty, so I'm going to take you through one, what financial independence means. Two, we're going to discuss the misconceptions that tend to hold people back. And then three, I'm going to give you a step-by-step approach of how to actually attain it. And then four, I'll explain to you how I was able to pull it off against all odds, and I'll explain it in a way that you can follow along and pull it off yourself. So, what does financially independent mean? Well, it's the situation or the circumstances of where you're able to support yourself financially, not having to rely on anybody else. You are completely self-sustainable at this point. If becoming wealthy is the destination, becoming financially independent is the bridge that's going to get you there. Moreover, you have to become financially independent before you become wealthy. Now, there's some really big misconceptions about becoming financially independent that hold people back. But if you're aware of them, you can avoid them altogether. You just have to know what to look out for. The first big misconception is that you have to be rich to be financially independent. This belief not only prevents people from even starting their financial independence journey, it's just simply not true. Many financially independent people manage to live financially modest lives in a way that allows them to maximize their financial resources without having endless amounts of money. For example, my story. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent the next 15 years of my life in the music business. I did very well for myself. I would say I was absolutely financially independent. I didn't have a boss to report to. I was in control of my entire financial destiny. And then one day, the digital download came along, that thing called Napster. People changed the way they started consuming music, and it wiped the whole industry out. Not just me, but it turned the whole industry upside down, and there are tens of thousands of layoffs industry-wide. And there were a lot of people out there really, really struggling. And I got to a point where the wife, she didn't really care too much about me not having an income anymore, so she took off. And based on her leaving and the financial responsibilities she left me with and what was still hovering around from my music business, I had to file bankruptcy. And at the age of 34, I had to start over. And I went out and looked for all different types of jobs, and I looked for everything imaginable. I went to look at being a cook. I looked at selling insurance or selling cars. I looked at a number of multi-level marketing companies, and ultimately I ended up bagging groceries. And fortunately, the grocery store happened to be going through a strike at the time, so they were paying $20 an hour. And that seemed like a lot of money, at least my reference point was, because the last time I worked for an hourly wage was during my high school years, and I think minimum wage back then was like $3.35. So $20 seemed like a whole lot of money until I got my very first paycheck. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with this? And after about 6 months of that and realizing that no one was coming to my aid, no one was going to help me, I had this epiphany that, if I want to get back to my former lifestyle, because I really missed my money, I missed being financially independent, I was going to have to do something. No one was going to do it for me. It was going to be up to me. And the most unlikely mentor came along, happened to be the grocery store manager. We coincidentally were both 34 years old, so we had a lot in common from that regard. But he was managing the store and I was pushing the grocery carts. And he said, Matt, if you want your money back, it's going to probably happen through real estate. Because he said these words to me, and I've said them 1,000 times since. He said, real estate, it's the final frontier where the average person has a legitimate shot at creating epic wealth. And I was like, wow. And I didn't know whether it was true or not, but at that point, I didn't have any other options, so I chose to believe him. And the following day, I went and signed up to get my real estate license, and I became a real estate agent. I did that for a few years, and discovered that if real estate's where all the money was at, as he explained, it's really sitting on the other side of the desk, because I had some real estate investor clients that gave me repeat business over and over again. And when I would look at the documents, I'd like, well, I'm making a decent commission, but look at the profit they're making. I want to do what they're doing. So I made this decision to no longer represent people in the purchasing and sale of their properties. I was only going to represent myself. I was going to be the principal. I was going to be the buyer. I was going to be the seller from this point moving forward. And so I was able to do that. And through this little book, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, this little purple book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's a really rare book. But they had this concept explained in the book called escaping the rat race. And this new idea of being wealthy. And it wasn't the amount of money that you had in your bank account. It was the amount of money that you had consistently coming in on a monthly basis. That's what real wealth was. That's what I'm really kind of getting at when I'm talking about financial independence, because I took that book to heart and I focused on that. And in 3.5 years, I was able to escape the rat race, so to speak, per the formula. I was able to get my monthly passive income to exceed my monthly expenses. Now, I wasn't wealthy, I wasn't rich, but I was financially independent. I was in a position where I didn't have to go to work. I mean, when the alarm clock went off in the morning, I could either roll out of bed or I could just roll over. And having had both scenarios in my life, being really wealthy and not being really wealthy, but having this financial freedom, this financial independence, I think I liked the second one better. I didn't have this pressure to perform every single day. That's what financial independence is, and you don't have to be rich to get there. The second big misconception is that you don't need to be retired. You don't necessarily need to stop working to be financially independent. Many of those people that have reached the stage of financial independence continue to work because they want to, not because they have to. You know, when I did reach that level of financial independence, I did essentially retire for about a month or so. But I quickly discovered that I could only watch so many movies, I could only go to the driving range so much, I could only spend so much time at the gym before I was getting really, really bored. So I understand people that are financially independent and choose to continue to work. And that's exactly what I did. I chose to continue to work and I started to scale my business, and that's the empire that we have that's Epic Real Estate today. Now, people that do achieve financial independence, they may give up that corporate job, but they will pursue other avenues. They'll pursue their passions. They may pursue side hustles just to keep them busy, to keep them involved. And these are the very types of people that come to me for real estate coaching. Those that are tired of their corporate jobs and they want to make that transition, or those that have some sort of means and they're just looking for something else to do. I get both. And that extra income that they generate through real estate isn't entirely necessary for them to live, but it can produce some additional luxuries in their life. It can enable them to build on their real estate portfolio or their overall portfolio. It can enable them to build that legacy wealth for their family. Now, another misconception is that you gotta make huge sacrifices to become financially independent. Extreme frugality or giving up all of your free time to become financially independent, that's not necessary, it's not required. Even just some very minor adjustments in how you spend money and how you earn money can compound over time and compound really quickly to make a significant difference. And being disciplined and consistent and persistent with these new habits can compound really, really fast, much faster than most people realize. The fourth misconception is that financial independence is reserved for those with certain privileges. Not true at all. Anyone can do it. It's just that most people don't. And that makes it really easy to see why so many people may get discouraged of even starting in the first place, because so few people have financial independence, so they're under the idea that it's really difficult and it's reserved for a select few of society. The truth is, different people have different obstacles in their life. They've got different challenges to overcome. And it doesn't take much research at all to identify a financially independent person or even a very wealthy person that was once in your very shoes. Now, if you want to know the real reason that rich people stay rich and poor people stay poor, I put a link down below in the description that explains the whole thing in great detail. And it's not what you think. Further, there are 10 financial lies that we've all been told our entire lives that hold most people back. And I've put a link for that down below in the description as well. At its core, financial independence is really all about being intentional with money. How you make it, how you spend it, how you invest it. And consider more than just your habits with money. Consider your habits about your own well-being, about your health. Can you make improvements in your life that encourage you to be healthier? Sleeping better, maintaining good hygiene, eating better, exercising. These are all really simple decisions that we can make that will not only improve your health, but will also make your journey to financial independence much more enjoyable. Now, out of all the opportunities and asset classes that are available to achieve financial independence, nothing has done it for more people than income-producing real estate. And that is precisely why I chose real estate as my vehicle. Because if it had provided financial independence for more people than anything else, I wanted to take on the thing that gave me the best shot of success. And today, with interest rates being so low, and rents across the nation rising so rapidly, the journey to creating passive income through real estate to create your financial independence has probably never been shorter. If anything, it's been significantly reduced since I got started. So if you're open to taking a look at this and see how you can apply it to your journey, I put together a free training for you, and you'll find it at mattsfreetraining.com. That's perfect for people that are just getting started. Now, if you have a little bit of investing experience under your belt and you want to kind of take it up to the next level, you don't want to start at the beginning and potentially want to work together one-on-one, go to reiace.com, answer a few questions, and then pick a time for us to hop on the phone and brainstorm some ideas about what that next step looks like for you. That's at reiace.com. You can take that domain name, type it into your browser, or I'll place it down below for you as well, just for your convenience. You'll see it in the description. All right, that's it for today. Take care. See you next time.